Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Conversations with Sara. Today we're going to do something very different. I'm going to share some pictures with you, highlights of my travels for work that I have done. And in my last episode, I told you that that was one of the reasons why I love doing what I do, because I do get to see this country of ours and go places that I didn't think I would have gone. Now, for those of you watching who are from the Columbus area or Strasburg, PA area, I am going to disappoint you because I don't have pictures, tourist type pictures of those places. Columbus is a city that is very close to where I live. It is a city that I go to often for shopping or out to eat. And when I worked there, I just would drive home every weekend. So I didn't do a lot of touristy things in Columbus. Strasburg, the reason why I don't have too many pictures from Strasburg is threefold. For one, the assignment was just shy of 8 weeks. I was there in the dead of winter, and it was 45 minutes from my family in New Jersey. Therefore, the free time that I did have was spent doing family things and not touristy things. But the other cities will make up for it. Baltimore, Maryland. What a vibrant city it was. I got to experience downtown firsthand because my apartment was downtown. The hospital where I worked, surprisingly, was north of town in a suburb, and I would have to drive past the courthouse to get on the interstate to get up to the hospital where I worked. But while I was at the apartment, I could walk different places, and I walked to the Inner Harbor, which is a nice area that they've set up all along the Inner Harbor. There's shops, there's restaurants, you get to see the boats. It's a cool working harbor to visit. Then walking a few blocks in the opposite direction of my apartment was the gravesite of Edgar Allan Poe, who is, as many of you who know me know, that he's one of my favorite writers. So to actually visit his grave was pretty special for me. And then there was all the wonderful crab cakes. Everywhere I went, I got to enjoy Maryland crab cakes. And I did go to, I think it's called Lexington Square, and ate at the lump cakes. So I enjoyed my time in Baltimore. After Strasburg, PA, I went to Connecticut, and I did 2 assignments in Connecticut, one in the town of Danbury and the other in Norwalk. Connecticut is an interesting state to visit because you do have the mashup of what I think of Northeast New York, New Jersey attitudes and accents. And then there's the New England attitudes and accents. And sort of Connecticut being that buffer is a mashup of both sensibilities. And it was quite interesting and fun to see. Now, while I was there, I did do quite a few touristy things in Connecticut. I visited, of course, downtown Norwalk. The apartment where I was at, I could walk and see the lovely little homes in Norwalk. There's an aquarium there that I visited. And then I got in my car and I drove to Sleepy Hollow, New York. Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is where Washington Irving is buried. So I did visit his grave. It is also the setting of his famous story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So that was a cool town to visit and a cool cemetery to visit. Took a train ride along the Hudson River, past the infamous Sing Sing prison that we've all heard about. Went up to Poughkeepsie, had lunch, and got on the train and went back. But that was a really fun train ride. I really enjoyed seeing the Hudson River. And of course, I took the train quite often into Manhattan. To me, that was a big treat to be able to just take a train and spend a day in Manhattan, something that I normally wouldn't do in my life. I went to Central Park Zoo. I went to art festivals at Washington Square. Christmas time was coming, so there were some Christmas markets that we went to. I just did basic sightseeing. I did walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, walk across and back. I was very proud of myself for doing that, and that was kind of a fun and interesting thing to do. So that was my time in Connecticut. I tried to make the most of it that I could. Then I went out to California, and I spent a very short time in San Jose, but I did have the opportunity while I was there to visit the Winchester House of Mystery, or the Winchester Mystery House, I think it's called. And that is really worth seeing in my mind. A little pricey, but it's just a cool house. It's a cool story. She was a fascinating woman. If you cannot get out to San Jose, California, look her up on YouTube. The Winchester Mystery House. It's been featured in several shows. It's also there's some YouTube tour videos of it. But not long after San Jose, I did go up to Santa Rosa, and I spent quite a bit of time in Santa Rosa, California. That's in Sonoma Valley, right next to the Napa Valley. It's a beautiful area of California, and I really did a lot of touristy things while I was there. Drove up and down the Pacific Coast Highway, went to Glass Beach, went to the Redwood Forest, did drive through the large sequoia, the drive-through tree, which I've subsequently heard is no longer there, but I haven't verified that. So it might still be there, I don't know. Went to San Francisco a few times, got to see a lot of that beautiful city. I did walk across, down and back, the Golden Gate Bridge, because I felt like I did the Brooklyn Bridge, I might as well do Golden Gate. And there was just so much to see. We did take a drive to Napa Valley and visited a pioneer cemetery. I couldn't even think of the word there for a minute. So that was kind of a fun thing to do. And I did do a wine tasting. And what I really liked about where I was staying is not too far from my apartment was a lake. And Horvath was the name of the lake, and the lake was called Racine, and the park was called Horvath. And I could hike around that lake, and it felt like I was completely out of the city, but I wasn't. And I spent a lot of time there. I really enjoyed going to that lake. So Santa Rosa was a lot of fun and a place I would definitely go back to. My next stop in California is Modesto. Modesto, California is kind of in the bread belt in the Big Valley, and there's a lot of food that's made there. There's miles and miles of almond trees in Modesto. It is very flat and very sunny. Unfortunately, when I was there, a few things happened. There were quite a few fires around, and there was COVID. COVID reared its ugly head about a week after I got there, and the state went into lockdown. So there wasn't a whole lot of places that I was able to go and see or do. I did make it out to Monterey, and on the way there, it's a really interesting drive there. And then on the way back, we stopped at San Luis Obispo Reservoir, which is just this phenomenal large body of water, very interesting trees. It just was a nice drive, but I would have liked to have been able to see more of Modesto. It's the times were what they were. And now I am currently in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is kind of not a homecoming, but a return. I used to live in Virginia, down in the southeast corner, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake area. And I lived there for about 7 years and moved away. So it was kind of fun to come back to Virginia. And now it's more northern. I'm just south of Washington, D.C., surrounded by battlefields, surrounded by history. A lot of the museums are still closed because of the pandemic, but we were able to go tour the grounds of Chatham Manor, which is right along that Rappahannock River, and go downtown to Fredericksburg and see the downtown area of Fredericksburg. So, oh yeah, and a battlefield. We did go to one of the battlefields. My mind is, in the Fredericksburg National Cemetery. You've seen one battlefield, you've seen them all. Although there's some people who love battlefields and would argue with me, but for me, one was enough to see. But that right now are the highlights of my trips that I've taken for work, and I think it's just exciting times and fun things to do, and I can talk more in depth about places that I've been if anyone is interested or would like to hear more. But that's the video for today. Y'all have a great time, and until we talk again, bye.